It's working. I tried the chimes, that didn't work, so I'll just use the voice here. Want to welcome everyone here. It's a great crowd that we have here today, so thank you for taking time to come out with your busy schedules. My name is Jeremy Wallace. I'm a social studies teacher at the high school and also the co-president of the MGA. I wanted to do a couple of quick thank yous here before we get started. So if you could just stand if you're part of one of these groups, it would be much appreciated. First, those who have helped put on the event, if you could stand here and give a nice little round of applause. So those who have helped put this on, thank you for all your work. I'd like to thank our speakers in advance too, so if our speakers for today could please stand. Grace and Kim and Amy, thank you. I'd also like to thank Summit Credit Union and Kim for providing the food and drinks for afterwards. Thank you for that too. I'd like to thank the AV department at the high school for coming. So thanks guys for coming over and recording this as well. And I'd like to just do a special welcome for some of our elected officials here. So school board members and Superintendent Olson, if you wouldn't mind standing up too, I thank you for coming as well. We also have some people at the state level that were here as well. I believe Senator Miller is going to be here at some point. He's right here. There he is. Thank you. Senator Gary Hebel also is going to be here. I don't know if he's here quite yet. I didn't see him, but we'll make sure to recognize him. And then Rob Paul was not able to make it, but his chief aide, Mike Tierney, is here. Mike, thank you. So, I guess we want to start here with this whole idea of many of us in the community here have had our time shaped by years of successful collaboration, whether among colleagues, in common planning, in district level scope and sequence content teams, or between parent groups and grade levels. What's made us effective to our students in large part has been a result of this collaborative engagement with others, teachers, support staff, parents and families, community organizations, building and district administrators, board members, and especially the students themselves. For many of us, the process has been more important than the final product. I'm going to turn it over to Janice Stone here.
Hello, I'm Janice Stone, and I'm the other co-president of MGA. And tonight, we wanted to celebrate some successes from our past that have strengthened our district and supported so many students to learn and to grow. We want to remind ourselves that collaboration and communication are not only matter, but are essential to our way of being and really help us to do the best that we can for our students as they engage in the hard work of moving towards their futures. A few years ago, like many other districts, our district faced the challenge of creating employee handbooks. And our district leadership chose to work closely with the MGA during this process. This allowed teachers to continue to have a voice in their working conditions, which are our students' learning conditions, and also ensured that teachers felt a level of comfort with the work that was being done. And our administration and school board members spent hours working with us on this project, and we were so pleased with their dedication to this process that we presented the Monona Grove School Board and the district administrative team with the MGA Friend of Education Award for their collaboration on this project. This spring, the school board and administration have once again asked the MGA to work with them, and this time on the Teacher Compensation Committee. And we are happy to work with them to help create a new structure that will honor and reward the work that happens in our district. So what are we doing at this meeting? I'm not going to read to you the slide because you guys can all read. So here are the things that we're going to work on through our time together. And to get us started on that, I'd like to introduce Tom Howe. Tom is a retired Monona Grove High School social studies teacher. He is a mentor, and he is also chair of the Dane County Mentor Project. So, welcome, Tom.
So on your tables, you have in front of you some norms of collaboration. And one of the things we really want to do tonight is to recognize that many businesses are now talking about the soft skills, the so-called soft skills. Those are, thank you, Andrew, nice coaching. Soft skills, that tell us how we might work with others in powerful ways. So you'll see some cardstock at your tables, and those describe each of these 7 areas. And we want to think about each of those 7 areas tonight as we work together at our tables, and we hope in going forward down the road. I would like you to think, especially tonight, about a couple of these. One is posing questions. We like to default always in collaboration to asking questions. And the other pretty interesting one is number 6. How am I feeling about this? Am I paying attention to myself and how I'm responding? And then how are others responding to this particular idea or concept around the table? And then finally, number 7, which is sometimes the hardest. The interesting thing about us all is we have our own worldviews, and we have a tendency to think those are probably right. So we want to presume positive intentions on the part of others. So there are some norms of collaboration. This comes from the work of Bob Garmston and Bruce Wellman. These norms are absolutely free, so if you're interested in looking at these, you can find it cited down below, but it's from the Adaptive Schools Network, and they're really terrific in lots of different settings. So let's take a little moment for you to connect first with your own prior knowledge about collaboration and communication, and also with some people at your tables. So very quickly, just recall a time in your past, either in your own schooling or in your work or any recent learning activity, where collaboration and communication was essential to your success. Not to the success of the project, but to your success. So recall a moment in your life where collaborating and communicating well with others was essential. And then, with an elbow partner, somebody sitting next to you or across from you, take about 2 minutes total to have a quick conversation about what was at the heart of that collaboration. So the essential characteristic. We don't want you to tell your story. We all have great stories. Right? We just want to get to the second bullet point, which is what's the essential characteristics of effective collaboration. Go ahead and have a conversation when you're ready. Far better than seniors. Not citizens, seniors in school. So, how about some very quick, let's just take 5 or 6 from the floor, essential characteristics to effective collaboration.
Tommy, are you ready?
Trust. Another. We have trust.
Expertise.
Expertise.
Listening.
Thank you.
Respect.
Respect.
Cooperation.
Cooperation.
Letting all voices be heard so that all ideas are on the table.
Thank you.
Time.
Thanks.
Communication.
Stated goal.
Stated goal. How we doing? Any more you want said before we move on? Because I heard we're supposed to listen to all voices. You good? Terrific. Well, one of our stated purposes here tonight is to think more deeply about this and how we can work together in stronger ways. And to do that, adults learn really well from models. So tonight we have 3 models, folks who are going to tell us a little bit about their stories. And you have the opportunity to jot some notes down if you wish. So if there's a place to take notes, isn't this so school-like? Isn't this so lesson planning? And you'll find those at the bottom of your agenda as you pick one up. Here's what you'll find. And you can, as you listen to these 3 fairly short presentations, how does this story intersect with my own life experiences? You just had a chance to recall a time when you had a successful collaboration. What's inspiring you when you hear these stories, or maybe what's surprising you, and you might want to think about why. And then last, what's some new ideas, what's some insights you're taking away for your own work and your own attempts to support and move forward communication and collaboration. So, Mr. Kinsler, you're going to start us off.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's great to have everybody here, but it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kim Spano. Kim is a resident of Cottage Grove. She's the president of Summit Credit Union, which is the largest credit union in Wisconsin, hopefully for the U.S., right, someday. No, but she has 3 children in her school district, Aspen, Mason, and Ross, and 2 of them are at Monona Grove High School, one's at GDS. Ms. Kim Spano.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces from the Monona Grove School District. I talk with my hands, so this is kind of challenging. You know, when Mr. Wallace asked me to talk about collaboration and communication, I thought, holy smokes, that's a big topic for 5 minutes. So I chose one example of something that Summit Credit Union does with collaboration in the community. So there's a lot of different things that we do that intersect with the community, and the example I'm going to give is where Summit Credit Union and the Boys and Girls Club have partnered together to teach kids about money and to instill great saving habits at a young age. So in the early 1990s, well actually it was late 1990s, there was the South Madison Neighborhood Center. And at the center, David Smith was the executive director, and he was talking to me about how he's got a lot of families who are in financial trouble. How could we help? So he and I put together a mentor program, and that consisted of having someone paired up from our credit union with a family to try to teach them and look at their financial situation to improve their lives. Well, that failed miserably. So, for a lot of reasons. So, a few years passed, and I started thinking about that again, and I thought, you know, it's a lot easier to prevent financial problems than to fix them. So how can we do that? How can we engage maybe kids in learning about financial education, and not just learning about it, but really experiencing it? So I started talking to the Boys and Girls Club, the South Madison Neighborhood Center turned into the Boys and Girls Club, And I started talking to Juan Jose Lopez, who was the executive director at the time, and Mary Burke, who was the board chair. And I said, you know, we really need to partner, find a way to partner on how to teach kids about money. And it can't be a classroom, because, you know, by the time kids come to the Boys and Girls Club, they've been at school all day, and they're ready to go and run around. So it can't be something like that. So we started talking about that, and, you know, Summit Credit Union could have put a branch into the Boys and Girls Club. We have one at La Follette High School and at Memorial High School now. We could have done that approach. But to me, it was really important that at-risk kids have an opportunity to really own their own credit union. So how could we do that? Well, in engaging our regulators, this was no easy task. A credit union for kids is not something that fits nicely into the rules and regulations of financial institutions. So we had to be really creative about that and figure out how can we make this happen. Well, I joined the board of the Boys and Girls Club. We worked diligently, and 18 months later, Star Credit Union was born. Now, Star Credit Union has its own president. It's 100% funded by Summit Credit Union. And the president's main job is to educate kids about money and how to save and create good saving habits. And they do that through incentives, competitions, games, any way that you can to engage the kids into saving. Star Credit Union, it was important to me that we had a solution where the kids really had hands-on experience. In the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of the at-risk kids' parents do not belong to a traditional financial institution. They use rent-to-owns, payday lenders, pawn shops, check cashers. So kids aren't getting experience with a regular, more traditional financial institution. So that was important to me. But it was also important to me that they had some experience with running a business. I think a lot of those kids might be entrepreneurs in the future or might go into business in the future. So to me, that was really important. So Star Credit Union, aside from the financial president, counted the money. I'm thinking that the mom didn't know how much change was in there because it turned out to be somewhere around $75. But then they talked about, what should we do? What should you do with this money? How do you want to spend this money, and how do you want to save this money? Well, the girl decided that she was there was something she really wanted, and it was about $30. So she was going to take $30 and save that. She was going to take another $15 and give that to her younger brother so that he could open up his Star Credit Union account. And then the rest she put in her savings. And that just really shows, I think, a very well thought out plan. That she can use those skills anytime she comes across an opportunity to plan what to do with her money. Another story, more recent, Damien, his name is, he was convinced by one of the other Star Credit Union members to come in and open up an account. Well, he had money for an ice cream cone and a little extra change. So he came in and he was just going to open it with a few pennies. Okay, we'll do that. But then he asked the president, he says, well, so why should I do this? Why should I give you my ice cream cone money? And she said, well, because if you put your money into the account, at the end of each month, the credit union will add money to your money just for having it there. So he thought, well, that sounds better than an ice cream cone. So he put the full amount into his Star Credit Union account. So he started to really find ways to make a little bit of money here, make a little money there, have his allowance, was frequently adding to his account all through the year. October 31st came around and he goes into the credit union and says, hey, Crystal, guess what? Today is. And she said, yeah, it's Halloween. Are you you looking forward to trick-or-treating? He says, yeah, but no. Tomorrow, the credit union pays me money. Damien's 9 years old. He already understands the power of compound interest. So those are two of the stories I wanted to share with you because Star Credit Union is now 10 years old, 10-year anniversary. We are now partnering with programs like Avid Tops where more and more kids, at-risk kids, are finding that, you know what, they really can go to college. And we really can help them save for that. A couple of things that I wanted to, as takeaways from the collaboration perspective, is that, the first approach didn't work. We had to rethink it. We had to come at the problem from a different perspective. And that yields a whole different solution. And really being open to that and opening up our minds to that. The second is that what I think the most powerful thing about collaboration is that it takes a solution and it makes the impact and the outcome of that solution so much more powerful than either entity could have done by themselves. So thanks.
Hi, my name is Peter Kuzma. I'm an art teacher at Monona Grove School, and I was asked to introduce Grace Kylo. A lot of things I could tell you about Grace, so I had to write it down to make sure I just kept to my quick time limit. When I started teaching in our district 19 years ago, Grace Kylo was a special education teacher choosing to team teach with a grade level classroom teacher. Their two rooms were connected by a door in the wall which separated them. It was clear that she and her teaching partner communicated and planned together, but also that they each trusted the other to share and carry the needs of the kids they were best suited to at the moment. More recently, as Winnequa School's parent liaison, Grace has been able to dedicate herself to connecting personally with parents who might otherwise find it difficult to communicate with or feel a part of the school setting. And Grace has shown me personally many times that she's also willing to have difficult conversations. When something needs to be addressed, she speaks her truth, and she can do so powerfully. When she's made mistakes, she'll freely share them, often being willing to laugh herself in the telling. And in the few details I've been able to share about Grace, she shows me that collaboration is both about building bridges and standing your ground. It's about sharing responsibility and holding each other accountable. So please welcome Grace Kylo.
I'm going to use this little space because I can't speak without writing down what I'm going to say tonight, so I have it all written down for you. First, I want to start, like everyone else did, by saying thank you to every person who decided to join us tonight. And thanks to Jeremy for asking me to share my story about collaboration and communication. We all spend so much time in collaboration and communication. It goes on all day, every day, in every building, at every level. And if I were to ask any one of you about what collaboration you did today, you would have a story to tell me about a child you talked to, a parent you talked to, an administrator you met with. I have no doubt that all of you have your story. But I get 5 minutes now to tell one of mine. And so today, to prepare, I actually spoke to some of my colleagues who've also taught in our district a long time. And I turned to them last week and I said, tell me of a time when you have participated in positive collaboration. And I heard so many wonderful examples, and I picked one that I shared with them. Many of you might recall the strong feelings that surfaced when the decision was made to close Maywood School. It touched students and parents and staff and the Monona community primarily, more so than the Cottage Grove community, but in the Monona community it touched at a very deep level. Many people expressed frustration, sadness, anger, grief, and actual fear about that school closing. In response, I watched our principal, Ann Schrader, start pulling people together to address those concerns. She set aside time in our staff meetings and coordinator meetings to allow people to share, and they began to brainstorm ways to ease this change. We had to keep our primary focus on how to make our new school a place where our Monona Grove students would feel welcomed, safe, and ready to learn. It was decided it would be a good idea to start having Winnequa and Maywood staff meetings and our coordinator meetings together so we could exchange our ideas. A consolidation committee was made up of some Winnequa staff and some Maywood staff, and they got to work working on a growing checklist of issues. As time went on and we would think of a new concern, we would put it on their checklist and they would work to address it. Some of the things that were added were, how should the classrooms be laid out now to best serve the kids in the building? And all grade levels were asked to look over the building floor plans to offer their suggestions. Well, how can we cluster and stagger these various lunch times now that we have so many kids to feed lunch to every day? We better be sure to include the women who serve lunch every day and get their input. Well, how will recess work best? Because now we're going to have 4-year-olds and 5th graders and all these different combinations of kids. We better be sure to check with the EAs who are out on that playground, doing playground duty every day, to find out what their suggestions are. We needed their input. We set aside time and welcomed the Maywood teachers to come into Winnequa, look at the classrooms that they were going to be in. We let the teams that were coming in decide which teacher would fit best in which particular classroom area they were assigned to. The students and staff in each building realized they had a culture that included celebrations and traditions and their own identity. We had to take time and devote that time to melding these two cultures. We decided we needed a new mascot and a new school song, but that had to be decided with the kids' input. Then we had a lot of time talking about how to help our community be part of this change. Staff in both buildings realized we needed to be sensitive to parents and community members' concern, and we need to listen when those concerns arose. We could all be advocates. So when we were out in the community or standing in the hallway or talking to someone, we could help share our heartfelt commitment to make that move a positive change in the Monona community. When I say Monona, you know what I mean, Monona Grove. Parents called. They wanted to voice their opinions, and we welcomed them in to talk and asked them, what is your concern? What is your fear? Do you have suggestions for us? What was it about Maywood School that created such love and loyalty on your part? And they shared with us, and we realized that it was the spirit within Maywood School that they were worried about, and we could reassure them that we were working hard to keep that in place. We even talked with our older students at Winnequa, and we let them know people are worried about their little 4- and 5-year-olds coming to a school with these big 4th and 5th graders. What are we going to do about that? And the older kids were quick to offer that they would serve as buddies to the younger students. They could read with them and help them and play with them to make them feel safe. And those kids welcomed being included in the problem solving. When it came time to open our doors to all of our Monona elementary kids, Winnequa School was ready. There might have been a few bumps, but overall that transition was smooth, it was filled with anticipation and pride and hope. And it has been a positive union of 2 schools now under one roof. But the question I have for us today is, why did it go so well? It's because everyone had a voice, and trust was established. And the people that would be directly influenced by the decisions being made were brought to the table and asked to sit down and help make the decisions. Strong feelings were not minimized or dismissed, but allowed to be heard. And sometimes they make you feel uncomfortable. And we were willing to experience that discomfort for a while and let it sit with us for a while so we could work through it. We could watch the process of change transpiring and feel connected to it. It was transparent. It was our change. And we felt the ownership, and we felt empowered. Today, looking back, it can give us some history. But what we really need to do tonight, and all of us in this room, we need to be looking ahead. 2 weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to attend the White Privilege Conference. And I'm not sure exactly who made the decision that I got to go, but administration, or wherever you are out there, thank you very, very much for that opportunity, because I felt very honored to be included in that group. But in one workshop, a speaker began an honest conversation about issues around race. And that woman said that if anyone says something in the room, in the workshop, that someone else feels is hurtful or offensive, let's agree to share how those words are making us feel. And we will share how we're feeling in a respectful manner. And this is what I love. She said, we won't call each other out. We will call each other in. This district, and I know because I started teaching in 1988, my 3 kids went off to Cottage Grove Elementary, went to Winnequa School, graduated from Monona Grove High School, and had a fantastic experience. So I'm speaking from my children and students too. There were years when, I think you all know this, people know because I've been hearing me talk about it so much, but Kathleen would be going off to Cottage Grove Elementary School. Mike would be heading off to Winnequa. Carrie would be going to the high school. My husband was leaving for Stoughton Middle School, and I had to get to Nichols, all by 7:15 in the morning. And so when I was writing this, I was thinking, it was not all collaborative and not kind of active listening was going on at my house, but I do have this unbelievable passion about Monona Grove. This district is made up of people with that same passion. The creativity, the intellect, the vision, the love, and the willingness to work hard for the students that we serve. And when we pull together and we work together, I believe anything is possible. Even situations that start out feeling like a negative can be turned around to become strong and positive when given time, and I think time was a huge piece of our success with our collaboration between Maywood and Winnequa. We were given the time to do the hard work that needed to be done, and I feel like it was a success. So thank you.
Principles of Engineering, Introduction to Engineering Design, manufacturing class. She's going into Platteville next year as an engineering student first year, and I'm sure she'll do very well there. So it's my pleasure to introduce Amy True.
Okay, so I'm just warning you, I'm not as good of a public speaker as the 2 that came before me. But I'd like to thank Mr. Wallace for asking me to speak tonight. It's a real pleasure. And I think many times teachers and other adults talk amongst themselves to come up with what they think is best for students. But I think it's always beneficial to hear students' perspective on things to know whether or not it truly is best. So tonight I will share with you some of my experiences and the benefits of collaboration and communication in school. Through my 4 years at Monona Grove, I've taken a wide variety of courses, many of which have focused on the idea of student collaboration. Like Mr. Otto said, I plan to major in engineering in college, and I've taken many technology and engineering classes at MG. I think all the teachers at MG do an amazing job incorporating collaboration and communication into their classes, but I would have to say our tech teachers are probably some of the best at it. It's especially important in these classes to encourage collaboration, because I'm always one of 3 girls or less, and trust me, it's not always the first priority for a guy to hear my opinion or my input on anything. My junior year, I took Intro to Engineering Design, and in this class we did some solo and a lot of group projects. Even with the solo projects though, we would always have to bring our ideas and designs to others, inside and outside of class, to have them give their opinion and evaluate them. This is an important lesson in not only being able to communicate with others and adequately explain our ideas, but also being able to give and take constructive criticism. Collaboration is an important skill not only for engineers, but also for anyone who wants to succeed in their career. In addition, this year I took environmental science with Mr. Keel. Our biggest project in this class was the water project. In groups of 4, we had to come up with a way to inform the school and/or the community of an issue relating to water, or find a way to try and change something that's in place now. For example, one group created video announcements to show at school, telling about the dangers of plastic water bottles and encouraging people to buy reusable ones. It took a while as a group to come up with one focused idea, because everyone wanted to achieve something slightly different. And then, of course, there's always those who thought their way was best, or those who found every way to criticize others' ideas. This project really forced us to share ideas and be creative, and in the end they turned out really cool because everyone had a strong point and was able to contribute something. Not only did this project really encourage us to collaborate and communicate with other students, as well as other teachers and professionals, but it also had a very real-world application. This year I'm also taking advanced physics with Mr. Lauer. Let me tell you, it's not an easy class that you can just get through with doing the minimum amount of work. If you don't understand something, the first step is not to go straight to him and ask him. It's to get together with some of your peers and try and work it out. I wasn't sure how well this would go at first, but it actually helped me to learn better. Instead of going straight to the teacher to get the answers, we had to collaborate with other students to work through the problems and reach an agreement on the answer. Everyone in the class is at a slightly different skill level, but we each bring our knowledge and experiences to the homework and labs. And it gives us the opportunity to teach and help each other if you don't understand something or vice versa. Without collaboration and communication in school, in the workplace, in public, and anywhere else, our society would go nowhere. Collaboration combines everyone's different skill sets and allows everyone to have a role. And in addition, an area you may be weak in, someone else may be strong in, and vice versa. Tons of great ideas can be created when you take the time to work with others and take everyone's ideas into consideration. Not only is collaboration and communication between students important, but also between students and teachers. Collaborating with teachers and adults gives students a chance to work with people who have a lot of real-world knowledge and experience, which is quite a bit different than being a high schooler. Overall, I think Monona Grove has done an exceptional job with incorporating a lot of student and teacher collaboration into our classes that will benefit everyone now as well as later in life.
So now that you've had a chance to hear 3 views of collaboration and communication, we want you to have some time at your tables to talk about something that surfaced for you in these 3 conversations. So what we'd like you to do at your tables, this is going to be a quick example of collaboration in about the next 7 minutes. We'd like you to find a facilitator, that's somebody who will keep it going and paying attention to the clock, please. A reporter, someone who will write these ideas down, and 1 reporter. So you're going to come up with 1 idea to share from your table, just one that resonated for you from these. So let's do that, please. So in the interest of time, and because we want to be able to wrap up in honor of the time we said, which was 5:30, I'm just going to take a few volunteers. We have a terrific turnout, which we're very excited about. So how about some volunteers, please? Yes, thank you.
We kind of had a discussion here about quite a few different things, but I think Grace really hit the point when she said that when there was a big change, all of those who were affected by the change were brought in to discuss the change, and that everybody had a voice and trust was established. I think that's like the key, and it really brings it home for any situation.
Thanks. Another, please.
I just want to piggyback on that's exactly what was affected here when we listened to Grace. We had no idea in the school district that Winnequa would have come together and done such a fabulous job integrating the 2 schools, and we were very impressed. So we thought that was great that everybody affected was involved.
Thanks. Patty. How about one more?
We have building bridges is important, you know, and moving forward, that we can overcome the past and we show respect for each other or all sides in our pronoun ideas that we're all together.
Thanks. We all matter, right? And I'm a history teacher, so yes, we have to forget the past occasionally. We move on. Thanks for that. Thanks very much. It looks like now we're going to hold it, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. There's some note cards at your table, and we're going to let Janice move us with that.
So let's end our time this evening by thinking about how we might take what we've learned and extend this action. So if we're going to strengthen our district, tonight can be a start to continued communication and collaboration among all of which to serve our young people. So if you could take a silent moment, you have like little green cards on your table or purple or, wow, there are all sorts of colors. And note that there are 3 prompts on the board up there. On your note card, please complete one of the following phrases. I intend to, I plan to, and I will. And as I consider my role and the importance of collaboration and communication in our school district, what will you do to move forward?
You want that as individuals or as people?
Yes, as individuals. So each person can have a note card. And then when we're done tonight, if you could just leave your note card on the table, that would be really awesome. And now I'd like to invite up our school board president, Susan Fox.
Thank you. I didn't come with any prepared remarks. I thought I'd kind of summarize from what I heard here. And actually, I told Grace that example of the Maywood-Winnicott consolidation was just a perfect example because it was, it was not only divisive within Monona, it was very divisive within the district. And as a board member who was on the board at the time, it was very clear to us, well, I can't say to all of us, to a majority of us, because it was a contentious issue on the board as well, so it was divisive everywhere. Some of us felt that with the referendum of Glacial Drummond and pulling the middle school out, that when looking at these 2 schools and looking at how empty Winnicott was, that it was very apparent that financially we couldn't continue to have those 2 schools operate. And we had talked about it for pretty close to a year on the board. The paper covered it. We thought people were listening. In fact, I made a comment at a board meeting that, wow, I'm really surprised we're not hearing more about this because people, we've been talking about it and nobody's really asking questions or saying much. What we weren't really doing, though, was reaching out and going to PTOs or doing anything like that. We were kind of assuming people were paying attention. Well, it became very clear very fast that never more, there was really a more untrue statement made than the one I had made because the fact was people weren't paying attention. They didn't have any idea. They didn't understand it. And it was extremely emotional. And I don't know if some of you who were around then remember we got board meetings that went until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We had public appearances that went until 9 p.m. That's why we now limit those. But it was very clear to me, and I had planned, as I said, to vote to close Maywood School, but we couldn't do that at that point because we had not done our homework. We had not talked to the people who really had serious concerns. I had changed my vote, and we voted to keep Maywood open keep both schools open another year, and continue to do outreach and talk to different groups. And really, the staff, with Ann's leadership, did all the real work in terms of getting the 2 staffs together and making some plans. And I think it did make a difference so that in the end, and we fielded a lot of very angry comments, and I was just sending nasty emails and took a lot from people in the other community who really didn't understand it and didn't understand how important it was. So from the board level, we really had to look at all of that and deal with all of that and try to explain to the people in the other community that we really needed to reach out to people in Monona, give people time to kind of adjust. And in the end, a year later, because we took that extra time, so time being the key word here, when when the board finally voted to consolidate the schools, I think we had maybe 20 people in the audience and hardly anyone said anything. Now that's not to say there wasn't a lot of sadness, that's not to say there wasn't regret, but people had adjusted, they had become a little more comfortable with how things might work. I'm sure there were still some anxieties about putting their 4K kids in a school with the fifth graders, and even though some of us might think that was a big deal, but it was a big deal because it was a different thing. Anytime you make a change like that, it's a big thing. So really taking the time to do that worked, and I think where we've run into trouble is where we haven't taken that time. And sometimes it's a matter of, you get up against deadlines and you move a little too quickly. And I think as a board member, what I've taken from kind of the last few months, as well as from this meeting, is just to sort of ask more questions about it and make sure that we do plan and that we help administration plan in terms of making sure that teachers and principals are having that conversation. And the conversations go both ways. I guess I don't want to leave without that. I think in our district, it's important to remember, I'm always disappointed when rumors start flying around and criticisms start being made and no one's calling us, no one's asking us questions. So I think when you see something on board agenda that you don't understand, bothers you, you're upset about it, and the issues are different. In some cases, the best person to talk to is your building principal. Find out what's the background of this, what's going on. If you're still upset, call me, call any of the board members, call our superintendent. We all would much rather have people call us so we can have this conversation and we can learn what your concerns are than to have things stewing out there and not know, and then all kinds of negative feelings being built up unnecessarily. So I think it does go both ways. I just want to make that point too, that I think we need to do a better job of communicating earlier, making sure we get more input. But by the same token, I think it's equally necessary in terms of the whole mutual respect issue that people tell us, tell us what bothers you, and we can have that conversation.
Thank you, Susan. Now I'd like to invite Superintendent Dan Wilson.
Thank you, Janice. Like Susan, I didn't prepare any remarks. I thought I would listen and respond. And so, sitting here for the past hour, I have a page full of notes, and it started, with our speaker. Boy, that's a great point. I want to expand upon that. And it kept more and more kept coming. So I'll try to keep this brief. But I think just a couple thoughts that are really important to share, and kind of with what's I think it's important for me to share my commitment to the district and the exercise that we all just worked on. When I was hired, I recently did a search for something. I was looking for something that was reported back in last July, and it inadvertently came across an article about my hire in the district. And so I read it, and one of the things that I had stated, as far as the rationale, why was I in this position? Why did I want to come to Monona Grove? And I stated that one of the things that really stood out to me was the passion and the support for the school district from the community, from the education community, from the community at large, and that clearly there was this passion about the school district. And that was something that I didn't necessarily have in the previous district that I worked in, and so what I'll say, reflecting now 9 months later, absolutely, that has come to fruition exactly as I expected, as I knew about this district. But along with that, passion means a lot of what was talked about today. That when there's a passion, that means you want to be involved. And that can be a great thing, that is a great thing, and that's what moves districts forward, ultimately to benefit the children of the district. It's real easy for myself and sometimes the board, sometimes other administrators to be so focused on our student goals and objectives that we forget about how we get there and the process and the people involved. And so with that, it's real easy to think about when there's big changes. Of course, we want to collaborate and get everyone involved. I love, Grace's example, and that's the way it should be. And for me, one of the real learning experiences has been, well, what is big change in the Monona Grove School District? And I had some misinterpretations this year and learned about, the culture, about what is important and passionate to people. And that's something that is really important, anticipating things that I might see as routine that they really aren't. This is something that we better talk about. And so as far as what I will and what we have done, 2 things that we've added at every meeting that I have at the district level now. We make hundreds of decisions every week. Many of them very minor, and others obviously very important. And so anytime we make decisions now, there's 2 questions we ask. Is it something that we need to collaborate and hear other voices before we make a final decision? Or secondly, it's how do we need to communicate? Who do we need to communicate this with? And that's something I'm relying on, I'm learning myself, relying on people around me, and that is important because there's going to be plenty of opportunities for change and important decisions that they're going to keep coming, and so, so getting that process involved, but understanding that the little things sometimes are big things also, and maybe nothing is really a little thing. So without getting into specifics, I guess that's the overall thought is that it needs to be at the forefront, and again, that's what's so great about this district, the fact that we have a packed room, that people obviously care about this district. That's something that you can't just create. That's not something I can create. That's a culture that's here, and we need to embrace that and build upon that. So, thank you.
We're a little over time, but I'm just going to wrap up here in the next minute or 2. I think we covered quite a bit in an hour. We realized this was a lot to do. I did want to quickly mention, I know Assemblyman Gary Hebel just showed up a few minutes afterwards. Assemblyman Hebel, is Gary still here? Oh, okay. Well, I apologize. I thought he was here.
He said he was not going to be able to stay.
Okay, well, anyways. So this afternoon we've had the chance to see and hear what collaboration and the communication necessary to create it sounds like. One of the things that comes out of this to me is education is everyone's business. We are all in this together, whether we are an elected official, teacher, support staff, board member, administrator, parents. And I think this afternoon, even in a short time, we've set a platform that we can learn that there's a new way of doing things, and there's a new way of being. And I'd like to just kind of close with this. Today we've drawn a line around us. This is a big room, sort of circular, that has created a circle. Now, I'm not going to make you do this. But I think we started some of the work that Sitting Bull asked us to do in his quote. Finally, we'd like to invite members of the board and our superintendent to join us immediately following our closing to schedule an initial meeting to develop a better process for improving collaboration and communication in the school district. If you could leave your sheets at the note cards at the table, that would be much appreciated. We have plenty of punch, plenty of cake over there, so please stick around if you can. And I'm glad we could collaborate together indoors on another wonderful day in Wisconsin.